Who participates in the Nature Connected Coach training?
Our students are groups. So this is a certification program, professional training for adults. We have our group sizes are anywhere between 8 to 12 students. And our participants are primarily in the age range of about 25 to 65. It's pretty wide range of backgrounds and interests from medical doctors to psychotherapists and social workers and educators, graduate students, and a pretty expansive interest level in regards to what people are called to to do with this kind of work.
How is Nature Connected Coaching different from therapy?
For the most part, the intention behind the program is around coaching. So it's not therapy. It takes a very different angle than psychotherapy and clinical work. But it brings in, and so it brings in the coaching, which is still very therapeutic, very transformational. It just takes a different edge than therapy.
Who do Nature Connected coaches work with?
The answer to that really varies depending on who you decide your ideal client is. And that's one of the things that we really empower you and train you to make some choices about who do you want to work with. And because the process that we teach is you can identify any demographic and apply it to that person or those people and specify it to really help them. So it's really up to you. If you're passionate about working with people in addiction, you can work with people in addiction. If you're passionate about working with young people, finding purpose, you can do that. If you want to work with middle-aged folks, dealing with relationships issues, you can do that. So it's really only limited by your own desire and what you feel like the need is. Who do you feel like needs you? And that's, what we're going to support you in the business development training to work with.
What outcomes do clients get through working with a Nature Connected coach?
The outcomes, client outcomes, this is one of the distinctions with coaching is that it's client-centered goals. So the outcomes are based on the client's goals, which is different than a treatment program or something like that. So that's one of the differences between coaching and therapy is that we're focused on helping the client identify the goals that they have for themselves for their own personal growth. And then those are the outcomes that we're shooting for. And this can be a little murky when you get into working with like executives or businesses and organizations where goals and outcomes can be defined by some other person. This often will happen with families and working with young adults or teenagers where the parents are really kind of like holding this intention for their kid or for their employee around how they want things to change. So there's a bit of work that has to be done in terms of aligning goals and vision for the work. But essentially, that's what we're shooting for. And the outcomes, again, is decided by these people. There isn't a diagnosis or something that we're trying to treat.
What are the applications of Nature Connected coaching?
In terms of applications for this work, it's really, with professional coaching, which you are eligible when you graduate from our certification program, you're eligible for a professional coach credential through the International Coach Federation. So that's an international credential. It's not a license that is bound to a particular state or anything. So it opens the door for a wide range of ways that you can apply it. But professional coaching can be applied to life coaching, business coaching, executive coaching, wellness coaching, career coaching, relationship, all sorts of different angles that you can take with it. So we focus on the life coaching with this unique element of nature connection and how we bring all of that together to really support our clients to make the changes that they want to make in their life. But the the professional coaching component, which we teach through, we have to do this in order to maintain our accreditation with the ICF, is that it can be applied to many different areas. So you learn this unique concept, but you can take it and put it into many different areas. And that's one of the things that like Ryan said, that we really focus on with you, is how do you want to apply this and where do you want to apply it? And it's really fascinating when you start to have a cohort of students come together in this program, because like I said, people are coming in from all different angles with all sorts of passions and backgrounds for it.
How is this different from eco-psychology?
One of the things about eco-psychology that I'm aware of is that and I'm not an expert in that field by any means, but one of the things I'm aware of is that it's very theoretical and based on the positive effects of nature connection, and there's some practices that you can integrate, but it's not as applied. We're very applied. Earth-Based Institute's Nature Connected Coaching is about real things that you can do with real people, that is backed up by the framework of eco-psychology, but not necessarily the same thing. So nature connected coaching is, okay, so we know that nature is a pivotal part of the psyche. That's been established in eco-psychology. It's very important. And how do we work with that? So what does that look like in a session? Well, that looks like learning how to collaborate with the environment, meaning the internal process that we're going through gets projected onto the environment psychologically, and that place in nature is a way to work with your internal process.
Who are the best clients for nature connected coaching?
My experience has been any client who's willing to go out into what we call a threshold experience, where you're taking the contents of your goals and your issues and you're working on them in nature, is a good client to work with, because their whole process is going to be mapped out onto that environment. It's very powerful, and it creates this. Well, what happens is, so when something's going on just inside of you, right, you have this kind of unconscious process that you're not fully aware of. But once you're able to start mapping that onto an actual experimentation with the landscape, what happens is the new awareness that's created generates solutions to your issues and progress towards your goals. And nature is by far the most powerful tool that you can use for that process. It's not the same. It's not the same when you're in an isolated environment, although you can still apply these skills. So I know that that's a lot to take on. So I'd invite you, Michael, to make that more digestible. But those are some of the more complicated concepts.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I'll see how I can do this. So the within eco-psychology, I guess the applied method for the eco-psychology would be ecotherapy, and forest bathing and so forth would fit under that category of ecotherapy, applied applications of eco-psychology. So nature connected coaching would fit into that. We draw upon the different principles of eco-psychology and nature connection and bring that into our coaching process. And this kind of ties in a little bit to Sally's question, other part of her question, which was kind of what is the process that we use. And so we have basically a process that is we call it our nature connected coaching process or cycle that we use with folks. And there's 3 different core stages to it. Each stage has many different components to it, because essentially we look at that we're guiding somebody deeper into a state of awareness for themselves, and then out from that deeper state of awareness out into the world. So a big component of how we work with people is through that experiential awareness building, action-oriented process that's based around their goals and their intentions and what they want to get out of that session. And then the integrative work, the integration work that is important for them to actually bring into the world. Because as you know, doing this work as therapists and so forth, you know, the hard work is in between the sessions. The how you apply this into your life, what you do with it. And so often, you know, we're left kind of with these big changes in ourselves, but no way of starting to really explore what the reality of our life is like. And we're often left with getting kind of, you know, tossed around and finding ourselves very challenged in that. And there's a lot of power in somebody maintaining that regular therapeutic process where they're really into the talk therapy and they're diving deeper and deeper into their subconscious awareness and so forth. And that does start to have change effect in a big way for people. And when you start to bring nature into it, it has such a compounding effect, because with nature, what we're doing is we're constantly projecting our internal experience out on the landscape. And we actually take that as something to collaborate with as guides. So on some level, we want to go deeper into what is really coming up for our clients and be able to help them see that represented out on the landscape, and then begin to interact with it in a new way. This starts to really change the brain chemistry and the way that our nervous systems are wired. It starts to really, you know, make some changes in the subconscious as well. So what we end up doing is starting to, you know, we call it a ceremony, because in many ways it is a ceremony. We don't bring that out to our clients. We're not saying, okay, it's time for your nature connected coaching ceremony. However, some clients might really benefit from that kind of language. But for the most part, we're holding it as guides in that way. We're holding a container for this person to go through a process of awareness building. And when you do it in that kind of ceremony, like a ceremony in a way, so to speak, not with like, you know, all the dogma and regalia that you might think of with ceremony, but more as a structure, as a way of holding the space. You start to feel yourself collaborating with something rather than directing something. You're creating a space for your client to go deeper into themselves and collaborate with the natural world to create more awareness for themselves. So that's really the intention. And with coaching, that's really the goal of coaching: creating awareness, designing actions, helping your client move towards their goals. So there's an accountability aspect and that's connected to coaching, that, you know, that we start to, as we're working clients towards their goals, is helping them with follow through around that.
How does the training support students in attaining ICF credentialing?
Our program is approved by the International Coach Federation. So when you complete your certification with EBI, your education, your certification counts towards your ICF credentialing. So there's a few more steps that would be involved. And we try to help you get as much of this done before you go and get your credential. But, you know, the ICF actually holds a pretty rigorous credentialing process, and it's also for the accreditation as well for the programs. So it's not like, you know, one time, okay, great, now you're a life coach. They actually want you to have a minimum of 100 hours of professional experience in addition to your education. They also want you to have mentor coaching, 10 hours of mentor coaching, which is very similar to something like supervision for a psychotherapist. These things can be done while you're in the program, so you are able to accelerate through that. But you are eligible for one of 3 credentials with the ICF, and those are based on the amount of education and experience you have. So the first level is associate certified coach, and that's 100 hours of professional experience. So most people come out of this program going for that. Some people are in the program, they've already got clients that they're working with, and they're able to work through that pretty quickly and get up to the next level, professional certified coach, which is 500 hours, and then master certified coach, which is 2,500 hours. So you can kind of keep going up in your accreditation as you go. The good news with our program is that you don't have to go back for any more education to go up in your credentialing. We provide you more than enough education that exceeds the requirements of master certified coach. And we really work hard. We want you to be, feeling by the time you finish this program that you are very competent in your coaching skills. So it's something that we're really working towards, striving to really have good representation that our students are actually coaching at a master level, rather than, even though they don't have maybe all of the hours of experience, they have the ability, the listening skills, the questioning skills, the ability to really get in there. And then the rest of it is just that experience and starting to really kind of find your own unique way into the work.
What does the program delivery and structure look like?
So our program consists of 12 different learning modules. And in the past, even up to a few years ago, you would come to Boulder for a weekend, and you would come 12 times. And we started to learn pretty quickly that that's a lot to ask for people coming in from out of state. So what we did was we started to blend together our intensives of these different learning modules. So you now come to Colorado 5 times in order to complete the program. And so for each learning module, there is a face-to-face intensive, and those intensives are where you get the hands-on experience, you get more kind of download of information, the instructors are there, and you get a ton of practice. And that's a big part of this for us, is that it is experiential learning. Where we do, maybe 80% of the time that you're there, you are practicing, rather than just being told what to do and then see you later, good luck with that. We want you to actually get in there, feel like you're a little like thrown into the fire, not knowing what to do, and having the support of the staff right there around you to kind of help self-correct so you don't start to, generate any bad habits or anything like that. So each module has a face-to-face intensive and an online component to it. And that online component is a video conference, sometimes 2 video conferences with me and with your mentor and your cohort. And then an online discussion, which there's reading involved, but the discussion is typically based around a topic. And then the discussion is about a 2-week process where it is literally a discussion. It's a dialogue. And we want you to be posting your thoughts and ideas about these different topics and then talking about it with each other. And what is it that you as a cohort are learning about something? For example, we have a section, April, on eco-psychology. So what does that mean to each person? How do those principles apply to you and the way that you want to work with somebody? And let's get into a group dialogue about that concept together, but not from this academic place, but really more from kind of a soulful, self-awareness place. So that's kind of what we are supporting within that discussion. But we're also looking for that you're getting the concepts. You're just figuring out how and what applies to you and what doesn't apply to you. The video conferences there's more coaching content and so forth that we offer, but there's also business and career development that happens within those calls. So we're really focused on helping our students start a practice doing this work. So all of the different elements of that, and we are starting always with developing vision. And then from there, how, starting to get a little bit more businessy and identifying things like your value propositions and your ideal clients and these type of things. And then how do you move into action with that? So there's goal setting and so forth. Each of the students has a mentor who's paid to be there to be your support for professional and personal growth through the program. They're a graduate of the program, and our hope is that you meet with them regularly, at least once a month, to get coaching and to ask questions about certain things and to get the support you need in applying this to your life. So the program, if you follow our calendar, the program takes about a year to complete. So you would come every 3 months, and in between those 3 months, you would be online working with your cohort, connecting with me, connecting with your mentor, and so forth. That online piece, yeah, there's a few scheduled things, but for the most part, it's at your speed and time. You're looking at about another 5 to 8 hours of work a week to be doing that. That's usually at the beginning of the discussion, and then that drops off pretty significantly because there's reading and so forth. So if you're going to really throw yourself at the business development, then, as some of who have built businesses or private practices for yourself, that can be a full-time job in and of itself, building that business. So it's really how much energy and time you're going to throw at that. So we give students up to 2 years to complete the program because we know that stuff comes up and travel and everything can be big. So, these intensives are offered on a regular calendar. And if it just comes up that, you can't make it to that one intensive, then no problem. We just help you find the next one to show up to. Typically groups like to stay together as a cohort through the program, but that's not always realistic for everybody. So we keep that fairly loose. Specifics in how we are tracking the students and helping them follow through with the program and whatnot and get that certification. That's really like one of the big roles that Ryan plays as a program director in terms of, helping students get all the pieces in place to complete the program.
What are the benefits of being an alumni?
There's been quite a development in our alumni community. And we're now starting to put together alumni gatherings and peer coaching groups and all sorts of different alumni kind of services and support that's starting to emerge. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's pretty fun to watch. And another piece here that's just to say is that when, just because you complete this program doesn't mean that you're like, we say, good luck, see you later. We actually want you to come back, and you can come back at any time for free. You're able to come back and take any intensives for free. And in fact, we have students that take us up on that all the time. In fact, next week or 2 weeks when we teach another intensive, we teach a Gestalt parts work intensive. We've got somebody coming back from Pennsylvania for that one. And then a few other locals that we're hoping to pull in for that as well. But so that's always there for you. We want you to stay up to date and feeling connected with the work.
Do nature-connected coaches need liability waivers for doing outdoor work with clients?
If you are going to start to use the outdoors and you've got people who are in more of what would be considered like a higher risk environment, meaning you're out away from society, over 20 minutes, 10 minutes away, you're out there on a trail or you've driven far away, that kind of thing, you are going to want a higher level of liability insurance that would be similar to that of a wilderness guide. And you would want to also accompany that with some wilderness training as well as wilderness medicine training and emergency training. And these are important steps to take if you're really starting to want to work with people in remote areas, and those insurance companies will provide you with the waivers that you need in order to protect yourself on that end. And so typically we have agreements with clients that are, we have our own waivers that we have our students and clients complete, but we also have put something in our disclosure forms that is a client agreement where we kind of go through the different liability or risks involved, and that you are responsible for your own care, and you have choice and all of these kind of things. So we also are, really support you to be able to really think about the environment that's going to best serve your client, and then to kind of create the program and the structure, the infrastructure, so to speak, that you need to best serve them. So if it's like, we're going to step outside the office and go walk around the block, that's a very different thing than, which is equally, it can be very, very powerful. In fact, you can do nature connected coaching in this medium. You can do it inside. Everything is nature. You just have to be able to connect to it in that way and start listening to it in that way. You don't have to be out in the remote areas. Now, the remote areas take things to a whole nother level. It's you're bringing in an adventure-based experience for somebody at that point, which has a whole level of metaphor and symbolism behind it. So there's many different approaches to this. I would say that 90% of our students are not motivated to take people out into remote wilderness for this work. We do have some that are very focused on that. But for the most part, people are interested in, how do I bring somebody into connection with nature just when I'm working with them in whatever environment I'm in? And in many ways, that's very realistic. We live in a world where, how do we keep our connection to the earth when we're in this society and culture that we're in? Instead of being out away, sometimes you got to go away to find that connection, but really the big work is, how are you going to bring it back in?
Is all of the training done in Colorado?
Yes, everything is done out here in out in the high altitudes of Colorado. And we are considering, it wouldn't be the entirety of the program, but we are considering offering another foundations intensive out in your area, actually, out in the kind of the East Coast tri-state area.
Where do the training intensives take place?
Those take place at a retreat center, so you're indoors and outdoors. And they're, on a beautiful property and so forth, where we're, you're out connecting to the land, but it is both in and out, and we go from 9:30 to 4:30 every day. And that's typically how that's done.
If you already have a lot of training, how do you know if the Nature Connected Coach training is right for you?
We will absolutely consider your prior experience. Our training is pretty unique in the sense of that it's a very unique way of collaborating with nature. You could put it under the category of forest bathing. It's not, it's different than, in the sense that it's not we're not a forest bathing approved program, if you will, where we've kind of met some sort of criteria around forest bathing like we have with the ICF. But it comes from a pretty unique history and lineage of education around nature connection. And so it is unique, and we would want to hear about and learn about the experiences that you've had and the education that you've had, and absolutely, where do we overlap and where can things shift and change for you a little bit. And we have done that with students in the past, where we have somebody who is already a Gestalt therapist that is taking this program. They don't need to go through the basic Gestalt training that our program offers, so we can work around that a little bit. But typically, we really encourage folks to be open to showing up again with a beginner mind around it, and what is it that you what's new in this education for you? It's a new application, new way of bringing it in. But we absolutely will look at these different things. We do that all the time with the wilderness training as well. When we're trying to train folks in to be wilderness guides, we don't have to ask somebody who's been an outward bound instructor for the last 20 years to come and take a basic wilderness training from us. So we definitely look at those different pieces.
What is the price of the program?
So the certification program is $9,700. For registration, we require a $2,500 deposit, and then the rest can be paid off in payment plans up to 2 years. Our wilderness component is an additional piece that you can choose to sign up for at any time if that fits for you. That would be an additional $3,500, and that's broken up between 2 different programs. One is a wilderness quest, and the other is a 14-day wilderness leadership training. And again, we look at personal experience and background and what you're driving for and so forth in order to help you make the decision if this is the right thing you need. If you've already got a tremendous amount of wilderness background and you want to get that certification, then we do offer a modified component to it, which is basically the very last thing of this wilderness training, which is kind of neat. It's a 24-hour experience where you take a client out from a base camp with the instructors at the base camp there, where you are taking all of your nature connected coaching training and all of your wilderness training, and you're bringing it together into a 24-hour guide experience. And like I said, you've got the support of the staff there to be able to give you feedback and help you work through certain things. So that client could be somebody that you're currently working with and you bring them to that, or we can help provide a client for you for that experience. The program is also, we're also going to increase the tuition of the program starting at the beginning of next year. So February of next year, after our next cohort starts. So our next cohort starts in the end of January, and then we have another start in June. So starting in February, we're going to increase the price. It's going to go up to $11,200. And so any registrations we take, whether it's for future cohorts, any registrations we take up until that February will continue to honor that $9,700 price. And then after February, it's going to go up. We also have a scholarship, and it's a $2,500 tuition reduction scholarship. It's not based on financial means. Instead, it's based on your professional motivations and focus. So what we do is we ask, your application is a business plan. And we work with you a little bit around that business plan. We want you to take the time to really think about what you want to do with this work and get pretty, entrepreneurial with that. We want you to be thinking about the money side of things, not just the impact that you want to be having. Both are very important, but we want to be supporting you in developing that business and being successful with that. So The application process is that business plan. And we typically invite students to apply for that after they've registered. And then what that means is that if you are rewarded that scholarship, we deduct your balance on your student loan or refund you $2,500 based around what how you've paid for the program.
Thank you for watching the Earth-Based Institute's September 2018 Q&A. For our contact information, please look at the description and get in touch with us anytime. We're really looking forward to hearing from you and connecting.